Talk Radio, you're in to all things music.
It's totally mind-boggling. You wonder, should I really be here? Am I, can I do this? Can I hang with these people? And the biggest compliment I ever got was from two artists I worked with was Al Jarreau, Anita Baker, both said to me, Barry, no, you're as good as George Duke, and Al would say like Quincy Jones. You have the ability to make those same kind of records. You can do that. And hearing that from people that you really admire, it just gives you the confidence you just need to let me go on and let me not feel like I shouldn't be in the room with these people. I can't, I don't deserve to be here,
Welcome to Making It with Terry Woolman, the show that explores the secrets, successes, and strategies for making it in the music biz. And now, here's your host, Terry Woolman. Welcome to the show, and thanks for tuning in. I want to let you know how much I appreciate you joining us on our show. If you missed last week's interview, you can hear it and all of our episodes at entertalkradio.com/makingit or download our app and take us with you. So often I get asked questions about the creative process, so I created this show to focus on what it takes to have a lasting career in the ever-changing landscape of the music business. You're really in for a treat, as I've invited my friends, some of the best and brightest in music, to share their stories on how they have influenced the music that has shaped our lives. I guarantee you're going to love it. So let's get started. My guest today is hit songwriter producer Barry-Eastmond. Undeniably one of the most successful and prolific producer, songwriter, arrangers in contemporary music, Barry-Eastmond has racked up over 60 gold, platinum, and multi-platinum albums on some of the most important artists in pop and R&B, with incredible total sales of over 80 million copies worldwide. Respected and acknowledged for his stellar work with legends such as Aretha Franklin, Whitney Houston, Barry White, Anita Baker, George-Benson, Al Jarreau, Chaka and Gladys Knight, the award-winning multi-talented music man has been responsible for hit records for a diversity of major artists including Britney Spears, Brandy, Faith Evans, Michael Bolton, Vanessa Williams, Freddie Jackson, Billy Ocean, Kenny Lattimore, Regina Belle, and Tamia, among others. Please welcome my guest today, Barry-Eastmond. Hi,
Barry. Hey, Terry. Great to be here, man. What a pleasure. What a pleasure.
For me as well. And for our listeners, Barry, you're back east, calling from your home, and I'm here in L.A. from my studio.
That's right.
But we did see each other recently, a few months ago in New York. I had the great pleasure of going in the studio with you and recording, and it was a blast.
That was so much fun. And the documentary, you should mention the name of it.
It's for
so
an
much
upcoming.
Fun to be a part of.
Yeah, it's a movie that's going to be coming out this year. They're finishing editing right now, but it's a movie about the Bronx, and it's essentially a love letter to the Bronx and many amazing people who have grown up and lived there, including Charlie Fox. Who we worked with, because Charlie Fox and Paul Williams wrote a song, and you and I got to go bring it to life together in the recording studio. And
absolutely,
we were talking about this.
To be in the studio with you and Charlie was just a thrill, man. I had such a blast to see how this song just came together, and the band was incredible. It took me back to the old days when I first got into this business. That's what we used to do, man. It was just a bunch of musicians in the room, man, together, playing music and playing off of each other and just feeling the energy and the vibe, man. It was it's just the best. There's nothing like it. Nothing like it. There
isn't. And it took me back also, and you're taking me back right now because I'm just picturing locking eyes with you. Yeah. Where we were sitting, I needed to make sure I had eye contact with everybody for cues and everything. But I mean, it was such a a kick to just the energy, and being able to, again, while we're playing and just going for it, looking across and seeing you looking back at me and smiling and grinning, and
and it's right, because you just start smiling. You just got that, oh man, this is feeling really good,
right?
And that's when okay, I think this is the take. This is the take. I love those moments, man. Just love those moments. Really cool. And and I had the bass player to my left, Tom Barney and Terry Silverlight on drums in front of me, also a little bit to the left. So what a vibe, man. And you were in the best studio in New York City to be in.
That's right.
In what is now called Avatar. I mean, not Avatar. It's now called Power Station again. It was Avatar Studios. Now it's a Power Station again. To me, it's the best studio in New York City. Nothing compares to that studio. Yeah. It's just great rooms.
That probably took you back as well, because for me, I'd been in that studio back probably in the late 70s, recording, and so it was, it just brings back memories of making amazing music. And, I think part of the reason we're, kicking off your interview right now with talking about being in the studio live with other musicians is that's not what we always get to do, especially you as a producer.
But to me, it's the way records should be made, really, truly, and honestly. It's about vibing and that energy that you create in the studio. I really believe the listener feels that when they listen to the record, the finished product, they feel that energy and that excitement that we had in the studio, and it comes through. Right. And I know a lot of the records I've been involved with that became hit records, they all had that same live energy and excitement. And it just, when I heard it on the radio, it's like, man, that's exactly that was what it was in the studio, man. It was a lot of fun. We're laughing, we're having a great time, and making great music. Right. I love those. I love things. Yeah.
Right, but you're capturing, as a producer, you're capturing the love and the passion and the thrill and the respect and the joy, and
that's right,
as well as the notes and the
that's
lyrics.
Right. That's right. And and you put the right musicians together, man, in the room, and you can't go wrong, man. You get the right crew together, and you just get in there and you just make it. You make magic, man. You really make magic. And then when the artist is there as well, and they're singing off of it, even if it's just a reference vocal, but the energy that happens in the room, I really wish that all that stuff could be on camera. Some of those sessions were just magical, man, and just incredible moments. Really special moments. Yeah.
Well, I agree. And let me ask you, I mean, when I know you've got a home studio and
right.
You write, and are you set up to record live? I mean, do you bring a drummer to your house?
I've done it once or twice, but I like going into the city and cutting in a proper studio, just because my studio is kind of tight. So sometimes I want to use the room to really get a great drum sound. So I'll go into the city a lot to do that. Right. But I have recut live here, definitely. I've done everything here. Done a small string section. I've done a horn section. Of course, I've done a little a tight rhythm section, 4 pieces. Mm-hmm. I've done everything here. There's not anything I haven't done.
So I was looking at your website, and it says Barry Eastmond, songwriter, producer, keyboard player. Is that description in the order that you see yourself as a musician?
That's a good question. Well, you know what? I started out as a piano player, at the age of 6. My mom just said, my mom was an amazing piano player. I mean, she just loved music and she loved playing piano. But what she played was her favorite hymns from church is what she used to play. Mm-hmm. And when we were all little kids, my older brother, she started him on the piano and he would play. And then I'd want to do whatever my older brother did. So I'd jump on the piano and start playing. So she said, okay, you want to play so much, I'm going to start teaching you. And I picked up so quickly that to this day, I will always consider myself a musician first. That's how I got into this whole thing. That's where the love began. It's always about being a musician. Definitely. Well, and it's hard because, you go by a jam session, you just want to sit in, even though you're like, okay, you really should sit down and relax. But that's when I know I'm really a musician.
So true. Absolutely. When you insert yourself on stage with whoever you're watching. In your imagination, right? I know that feeling.
Yeah, definitely.
You're, in addition to your mom being a big influence on you as a musician, your dad really loved music also and exposed you to a lot of different styles.
He really did. He was such a big, he had an amazing record collection, and he loved jazz, you know, so everything from Count Basie, Duke Ellington, Woody Herman, I mean, just some of the Lee Morgan, Miles Davis, just some of the great jazz records he had, and he would play this stuff around the house, and I'm just a sponge at that age. You know, I'm just listening to this and absorbing it. I'm like, I don't quite understand it, but I like it. I like this. So I'm listening to that with my father, and I'm hearing hymns in the morning with my mother, and then I'm listening to radio and hearing, you know, the top 40 tunes of the day. So I'm just like taking all of this in, and I'm like, everything is good. There wasn't anything I didn't like. I just listened to everything. I like that too. I like but coming from I went to Juilliard when I was 8, and so coming from Juilliard, I became a classical musician, and so I really studied classical music, and that was really what I think I developed, gave me my technique as a pianist, right, and the appreciation of such amazing composers as, you know, Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, Liszt, Bartok, because I play them all, and
wait,
I
Bartok
love that.
At 8 years old, you were actually
I
being
loved Bartok.
Me too. It just took
I loved Bartok. It was just amazing. I just loved it. And so, but what I felt was after like playing classical music for a good, until like I was 15 or 16, I kept playing. Mm-hmm. I wanted to experiment with improvisation. I used to marvel at jazz musicians who would get up on stage, have a little chart, play through the chart, and then they would improvise over those solos, over the changes, mm-hmm. for like the next 5 minutes. And I'm like, how did he do that? Right. How did he do that? That to me is like, that's the tip of the iceberg. It's like, if you can go in there and create melodies on the spot and make it work against the changes and what the band is playing, that to me was like amazing. So I started studying jazz, and I found a jazz teacher, and I started playing jazz. And once I fell in that, it was no looking back. I was hooked. I was hooked. And that's where I really ended up, you know, starting to jam with bands and playing with different artists and stuff was through jazz first. So it was a lot of, it was great. So it was such a thrill.
The program that you were in at Juilliard at the age of 8, that was a Saturday program from 9 in the morning till 5 p.m. Is that right?
That's correct. It was called the preparatory division. Exactly. Mm-hmm. And what they were doing was they were preparing you for, they really wanted you to attend their college division. So you would start at the age of 8, and literally I was there every Saturday for 5 years, and then Juilliard dropped the preparatory division at that point, and then Manhattan School of Music here in New York picked it up. So then I was at Manhattan School of Music for another 4 or 5 years, and just taking in all this classical music. And then you're also learning about arranging. You're mm-hmm. studying composition. I started taking organ lessons as well as piano lessons, and then you've got to perform in the orchestra mm-hmm. Or an ensemble. So it was literally 9 to 6 every Saturday. I had such a full day of music that, and it was something that I loved. And my father, man, he worked at nights, and he would come home at 6 a.m., get an hour's sleep. Literally, 7 o'clock in the morning, he'd get up to drive me, because we lived in Brooklyn at the time, and to drive me to Juilliard School of Music, which was uptown Manhattan, 117th Street in Manhattan and Broadway. And he would drive me there and sit in the car and wait for me for the whole day, because I was too young to take the train. They didn't want me on the train by myself. And he would sit there, and he would get his little nap in the car, but I was in school the whole day, man. And then I'd come out, and he'd drive me home. So, I mean, I'm telling you, man, my parents, man, they really, the ultimate, you know, sacrifice.
That's Parents of the Year award to both your mom and dad. That's amazing
absolutely.
to me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I have 2 questions about that period of your life. One, is a musical question. Is that where you learned to conduct? And the second question is, when you were spending every Saturday in music school, did you feel like you were missing out on playing stickball with your friends, or did you?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I'll answer the first question first. Did I learn how to conduct? I started there, but I actually learned how to conduct. At the age of 12, I became the organist at this church, St. Lawrence Church, in close to my neighborhood in Brooklyn. And as the organist, I had a choir that I was responsible for, that I had to teach, the hymns that we were going to do for the next Sunday. Yeah. And I teach them the harmonies, and that's where I actually started conducting. Was the choir.
There's nothing like choral conducting to really teach you.
There you go. There you go. And that is really where I got my chops as far as a conductor and working with singers. That was my first experience, really working with voices. And that I learned so much from that experience.
Right. And that really then whet your appetite for working with singers.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, no, that was really incredible. And it's so funny because now you look back and you realize that's where it all started. But when I was doing it, it was just, okay, I'm just doing what I have to do. I've got to teach these people these hymns for Sunday. Let's get on it. Okay, sopranos, you're going to sing these notes. And then, so you're just going through it. But you realize later, man, that was the beginning of it. And it was just so exciting to hear them. There were a couple of pieces that I wrote. There were 3 or 4 hymns that I wrote myself that I would teach them. And they were complex, they weren't simple. They weren't simple tunes to learn. But they got it, man. They really figured it out. It was great. And I really enjoyed it. And those were my earliest compositions that I wrote were actually hymns. It was when I started writing first. And then later on, it developed into fusion tunes, jazz fusion.
Yeah, very similar to Bach. He started by, writing hymns for his choir. Yeah.
Wow, that's so right.
Yeah, and he didn't really go into jazz because jazz didn't really quite exist. But something, there's a lot of similarity to the kind of writing that Bach did. If you swing his melodies, it's bebop.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. That's exactly right. That's why I'm so thankful for my classical education, because I don't think I could play jazz the way I do if it wasn't for my classical education. And learning, first of all, the technique that I learned from my piano teachers from playing classical music. I mean, you really had to learn fingerings to play some of those Mozart pieces and Chopin and Bartok. I mean, you really had to have your fingering together as far as that was concerned. So the technique I learned from that was really amazing. And then to move into jazz just felt so natural for me. It really felt, and I look at some of my...
I need to cut you off. We're heading into our first break, Barry.
Yep.
So we'll finish that part of the conversation and also talk about missing out on stickball Saturday with your friends. And
you got it. Definitely.
Talk about that. I'm here with Barry Eastmond. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hey, everybody, this is Will Lee, and you're listening to Making It with Terry Wood.
Welcome to Making It with Terry Woolman, the show that explores the secrets, successes, and strategies for making it in the music biz. And now, here's your host, Terry Woolman.
Welcome back. I am here with Barry Eastmond, pianist, musician, songwriter, and producer, in that order. And you just heard, coming out of that commercial break, Freddie Jackson's hit "You Are My Lady," which, Barry, you not only produced, but you wrote.
That was my first #1 R&B hit and top 10 pop tune on the Billboard charts. That song literally changed my life. I went from being a recording sideman in New York City to songwriter, record producer after that song. So
I can see why.
It was incredible, and it was all a song that was written for my wife, and one of those songs that you kind of come up with in an evening, and you think, could this be something? I don't know. It's all right. And I was fortunate enough to meet Freddie Jackson, and his management was working on his first record and album, and they asked me if I had any songs for him. And I thought this song could work, but I didn't want to sing it because I'm not a great singer. Mm-hmm. I said, if there was a way I could get Freddie to come over to my house and demo the song, I'd love to play it for them with his voice on it. And sure enough, they said, oh, sure, we can get Freddie to you. And Freddie came over, and I sang the song to Freddie and played it on the piano. And he said, Barry, that's one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard. You better not give that song away. I'm doing it. And it wasn't until I heard his voice on it, when he sang it back, then I got the goosebumps, and I thought, this could be something really special.
And it was, and it is. It continues to be. What about that demo? Was it just piano and voice, or did you do a little programming?
The demo was, the demo was very true to what you're hearing on the final record. It was a 808 drum machine, Roland 808 drum machine. Mm-hmm. I did at that time was a DX7 for the Fender Road sound. And I had done a synth bass, which I replaced with my buddy Wayne Brathwaite, came in and played bass. Mm-hmm. And added some guitar parts. Mm-hmm. And, I kept thinking, okay, when I get the chance to go in the studio, we're going to put real drums, we're going to cut it live, we're going to do this. And then I fell in love with this version. And I said, you know what? It's not a big ballad. It's something that's really from the heart. It's intimate. I don't want it to become this big bombastic ballad, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I just felt like I had to keep the drums. I had to keep the 808. And the only thing I did was add strings, live strings, and backgrounds. And that's it.
Right. So you stayed true to your heart on that song.
Absolutely. And
that's, I would say that's part of the success of it, because I love the drum programming in it. I mean, it's just because it pulls me into this world, and then I'm in it, and the live strings, the live strings and the vocals, and you playing piano. It's just like it glues it, and
thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And it's so funny because at the time you use what you have in front of you, and I had this Roll 808, and I'm like, okay, let me just put this on. Okay, let's go. And you put the drum beat down,
machine.
But there was, right. And it was something about, yes, there you go. But his voice, I mean, I think had I wrote the song and his voice wasn't on it yet, I would have said, okay, when we go to the studio, let's make this a big thing. But his voice on it was the glue. All of a sudden, everything fell right into place. The drums, like, this is absolutely the drum programming, and this is what I'm going to use. The same Lynn drum, the 808. We're going in, laying it down just like that. And I didn't change much. And I'm so glad. I'm so glad I didn't.
So let's circle back for a minute before we move forward.
Yeah.
We're talking about, you at 8 years old and on upwards, spending every Saturday at Juilliard or in any of the music programs that you were in all day long. So you missed out on shooting hoops and playing stickball and getting your knees skinned with your buddies. Did it feel like you were missing out on anything, or did you do that on Sundays?
When I was 7, 8, 9 years old, no, I just loved going into the city. I loved the whole experience of being around other young musicians and just studying classical. But when I got to be 12, 13, yeah, I'm not going to kid you. That was hard. And I'm telling you, I came close to telling my parents. I think I did tell them, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I'm not having a great time. All my buddies are out, they're playing baseball, they're playing basketball, they're just having a great time. And I'm here, practicing. The thing about classical music is you have to practice a lot, and you're alone most of the time,
Right.
So I had to do all this practicing, and I really came close to saying, you know what, I don't think I can do this anymore. And my parents, man, they were like, no, you've got a talent for this. You can do this. We want you to continue. We want you to continue. And there was definitely a battle, I got to tell you. But you know what finally convinced me to stay in music and keep playing was that love of jazz and contemporary pop music. I started realizing that, you know what, I could play with other musicians. I was starting to play in bands, and that changed everything for me. It was like, wow, no, this is really fun now. I'm having a great time. And that's what kept me in it.
Yeah, and you're saying you thought you were missing out on all the fun, which in a way you were, but look who's having fun now. You.
Right.
Look at your life.
Right.
Traveling the world.
Yeah,
playing with some of the greatest artists of all time and becoming one yourself.
Oh man, believe me. I pinch myself some days when I'm in the studio with an artist and I'm like, wow, this can't get better than this, man. This is just really amazing. This is really amazing. And especially as an artist that you've been a fan of for so many years, and you're sitting in the studio with, and I just can't believe that I'm telling them how to approach a particular song or how to, not how to sing it, but just giving them advice on how to make the vocal performance better. You know what I mean?
It's so interesting to talk to you as a fellow producer and arranger, because I've had the same experience. When I was sitting next to Stevie Wonder and Al Jarreau and Dionne Warwick, suggesting what they do, because I was the producer of the record. It is kind of mind-boggling.
It is. It's totally mind-boggling. You wonder, should I really be here? Am I? Can I do this? Can I hang with these people? And the biggest compliment I ever got was from two artists I worked with. Was Al Jarreau, Anita Baker. Both said to me, Barry, no, you're as good as. And then, she would say George Duke, and Al would say like Quincy Jones. Man, what you do, you have the ability to make those same kind of records, those productions that they do. You can do that. You have those ears, and not only do you have the ears, but you've got the knowledge.
Right.
You can write that down. You can conduct it. You can do it. And hearing that from people that you really admire, it just kind of gives you like that confidence that you really needed. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
okay,
You start to believe it. Right. But I think
you just feel good,
so,
And I'm not just saying that you're gonna get a big head about it, but it just gives you the confidence you just need to, like, let me go on and let me not feel like I shouldn't be in the room with these people. I can't, I don't deserve to be here,
Right.
And it's the whole thing, But I just love it.
So
and once I'm in the room,
excuse
me,
I can really relate to what you're saying. It's amazing, because I've experienced the same.
Absolutely.
I think as we all do, that's part of being an artist.
Absolutely. That's true. That's true.
The
But
self-doubt.
I think the nerves kind of help me. Whenever I get in the studio with a new artist, you always have that moment of, wow, am I going to come up with something that they're going to like? Am I going to write something that they're going to like, or am I going to produce it in a way that they'll like it? So you go through that nervousness. But, man, once you get in there, and what I always say, the magic happens, that music starts flowing, and you hear the melodies, and you come up with the changes, then I'm just like, oh, this is right. I just get so excited. I'm like a kid in a candy store. I'm just so happy that I can go. I'm like, okay, this is going to be amazing. I think we're going to have a hit record out of this. I just get going. I just love it. I love it so much.
So I read that you said that my dream, this is a quote, my dream was of being on the road with an artist no matter who. And that dream ended up being fulfilled in the early 80s when you were hired to be a keyboardist for Melba Moore. And I believe that's where your touring life began. Is that true?
That's right. Exactly. That was my first experience on the road. Actually, right before that, before Melba was the big one. Right before that, I went on the road with a jazz violinist. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but his name is Michael Urbaniak. And
sure.
It was a fusion.
Ursula Dudziak.
Ursula Dudziak, his wife.
Right.
That's right.
Sure.
Exactly. And that was the first tour I went on. It was a really little tour that we did on the East Coast. And we actually opened for Jeff Lorber, who had a young sax player in the band by the name of Kenny G.
Kenny Gorelick. Right.
That's right. Kenny Gorelick.
Right.
Exactly. And that was my first time on the road doing like Cleveland, Buffalo, and I forgot where else we went. Boston on the road. And right after that, I got the gig with Melba Moore, which was really one of the best gigs I ever had. It was incredible.
How did that come about? Who recommended you?
That was, again, that little band that I would play with back in the day in Brooklyn. We would get together and play. The little units of piano, bass, drums, guitar. Anytime we got together, we just had a great time. And we used to kind of start getting hired as a rhythm section for a lot of different record dates. And all of a sudden, the guitar player got hired to do a song, a record for Melba Moore. And while he was in the studio with Melba, she said, I'm putting a brand new band together. I need a musical director, piano player. Can you recommend somebody? He recommended me. And so I went down there, and he said, well, I need somebody who can read, read music well, because I have a lot of charts from Broadway shows that I've done that I'm going to do in the show. Somebody who can conduct, somebody who can write arrangements. And I said, yep, check, and check. I can do that. And I got down there and I played her show, and she was so impressed that I got hired on the spot. And I ended up just hiring all my friends that were in the rhythm section that we played with together back in the day. I brought them out with us.
Smart.
And so we just had a blast. It was a great band, great music, and Melba was one of the best, nicest people you could ever work with. Just a sweetheart. It was phenomenal.
You had the understanding early on that it's important to surround yourself with greatness and people that are going to support you and that you're comfortable with, but people you can count on.
Absolutely. And it's not even just about, of course, you're going to be a great player. That doesn't need to be said. We want somebody that's going to be a great player, but somebody with the right attitude, right personality was so important too. Because, you know, when you're in the studio or you're on the road for a long period of time, you want to be around people that you enjoy hanging with, you know what I mean? And that you have a good time with. That's really important. So we would just have not only a great time on stage, but, you know, afterwards we'd hang out together, and we just enjoyed traveling together. It was a great group of guys, and Melba really enjoyed the energy because the whole band was really young. I think all of us were like 21. I was 21 at the time, and my drummer was 22, and bass player was 20. So it was a really young band, but we just had a blast. We had a really great time. And I'm in college at the same time while I'm doing this, so it was really interesting.
So your teachers actually supported that. They helped you figure out a way to continue touring and still do your studies.
Exactly. They knew at this point, I was like my last year, my senior year, and when I got the gig with Melba, I knew at this point, I said, this is what I want to do. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. And I had 6 months more to go. But if I left school and not graduate, it would have broke my parents' heart. I couldn't do that. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. But I went, talked to my professors, who all said, no, you can do this. You can do this. So I was taking 4 courses for the last semester, and each professor said, yeah, we'll just give you the work. You take it, and, you know, when you get back into town, you bring us the work, and that's how I graduated. It was amazing.
So you actually finished your degree?
That's right. Got my degree,
performance degree
in music education.
Music education.
In music education, actually.
Wow.
And you're probably wondering, why was it music education? Because I didn't think I needed a performance degree to tell me I knew, to play.
Right.
I figured, I can play. I know I can play. I'm good. But I always thought that with a music education, if I ever decided at one point I was going to teach, and I really felt like I was going to teach, my parents were really excited about me teaching. They weren't so excited about me going on the road, because you know what they hear when you're a kid. Sure. Back in the day, if they go on the road, you get caught up. Oh, no, it's terrible. No, you should be a teacher. But I loved playing too much. I really loved music, and I loved playing in bands. And I knew that I had to experience this. I just said, no, I'm going to go out and do this. And I said, down the road, I can see myself teaching, and I think that I'd have so much more to offer students, and not just textbook knowledge, but I'd have real-world experience of being in the studio. I can explain, when I was in the studio with this artist, or when I traveled with this, I can really give them real life lessons, and that to me was what was important. So I got my education in Brooklyn College and bachelor's in music education, and then I was off, and after that I was on the road just doing my thing.
That makes perfect sense, and it's so great that you had the support of your teachers to do that. And I, I've always felt like at this point of our lives is when we would be the best teachers. And I know that.
Yes.
We're heading into our next break. We'll be right back. I'm here with barry-eastmond, so please stick around.
Adam Berry, and you're listening to Making It with Terry Woolman.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear, host of Sound Experience here on Intertalk Radio. And Source Connect by Source Element is the essential tool that we use to link between my studio in Austin, Texas, and the WS radio station in San Diego. Now, with Source Connect, not only can we communicate in real time and with HD audio, but it's synced up and is of a high enough quality that I can use it for real-time ADR work, remote recording, and overdubbing, and it even allows me to remotely control a DAW. Source Connect by Source Element. Affordable, high-quality audio and video connection over the internet for all of your production needs.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Aubrey Logan, and you are listening to Making It with Terry Woolman.
Welcome to Making It with Terry Woolman, the show that explores the secrets, successes, and strategies for making it in the music biz. And now, here's your host, Terry Woolman.
Welcome back. I'm here with my guest, Barry Eastmond, and we were just listening to a song from Najee's latest project, Poetry in Motion, that, Barry, you produced and did some co-writing on as well.
That's right, with Eric Roberson, an amazing singer who wrote the lyrics and sang the heck out of that song. This is great guy.
Did Eric bring you the lyrics, or did you have a track or song in mind?
I started with a track, and I sent that to Najee just to let him hear the direction that I was going in. Mm-hmm. And he loved it, and he said, we've got to get this to Eric. I think Eric is going to be perfect. And I had just met Eric for the first time literally like a month before that, and we were looking for something to work on together. And so when I sent it to him, he said, track is perfect, just give me some time to work on it. And literally about a week later, he sends me this email, and I open it up and I played the song. I'm like, wow. I was knocked out. I was so excited. So excited.
It's a great song. It's a really wonderful song.
Thank
By
you.
the way, you're very welcome. Najee was a guest on our show just a few weeks ago, and he just raved about the experience of getting a chance to work with you once again, because I know that you produced him many, many years ago. So he was just so happy to be in the studio with you.
Yep. On an album called Day by Day, I worked with him for the first time. And I felt like, I kept telling him, Najee, we got to get together again, because, when we got together the first time, I didn't know what I was doing. Let's. I think I've got some years. I've learned a couple of things. We got to do this again, please. And we got together, and we just had such a great time. And Najee's energy in the studio is so great. It's so great. And again, we got together in the studio, live musicians, man. Once I had the tracks together, we got in the studio and we cut the stuff live, man. It was just so thrilling to do that, because I told him I really wanted to go back to doing a record that way, because I think the first time was all machines, and I just didn't enjoy that. This time I had a great time. I couldn't wait to do it. So it was great.
Well, you're right, and you're back to how we started our conversation about getting in a room with a group of musicians that you love and respect.
Right. And Terry, you know, because you're such a great player yourself, and you've been around such great players in L.A. I know that's something that you must enjoy as well, more so than doing a track by yourself.
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, my latest single that's on the radio now, No Problem, I specifically recorded it because we had played it for a live show with John Robinson and Hussein Jeffrey and Greg Manning and myself, and Luis Conte was playing, and we had so much fun. The guys said we should go in the studio and record that. And we did, and that's my new single. Just a bunch of people in the room together. I love that. With a smile on their face and dripping wet by the end of the take. Because everybody's just going for it. That's when you know you've got it. That's when you know it's right. That's definitely the best. You've got no doubt about it. Yeah, I want to cover a lot in this last segment that we have, and we've got really about 12 more minutes. So we'll do this a little bit more with speed dating, kind of shorter answers. Okay. I know we could do a whole show on any single question. Sure. I want to talk about a couple of your new projects, but I want to go back a little bit for just touch upon introducing Jonathan Butler. Yeah, just give me a sentence or two on the amazing Jonathan Butler that we both love. Jonathan is just phenomenal. One of the greatest musicians I've ever had the pleasure of working with. Met him when he came to New York from South Africa for the first time. We were put together by the president of Jive Records, who thought I would be a great producer arranger for him. And Jonathan is just, as you know, one of the most creative and writes the most beautiful songs I've ever heard. So being in the studio with him was a joy. Just an incredible experience. I can't imagine. Incredible experience. Yeah, well, I can't imagine, actually. It's, because the two of you together, the energy. I mean, I didn't know who you were back then, and I didn't, of course, know Jonathan. But man, that first album, just like captured me. What you? It was just such a blast. We had such a good time, and I think him bringing his whole vibe and his whole thing and what he does, and then putting that together with me from New York with this kind of slick rhythm thing, but yet not overtaking the South African concept and vibe. You know what I mean? Right. And the beauty of what he was doing. I just had to be true to that. And it took me back to my years as a kid listening to all kinds of music. I'm like, I can do this. You can do this. Right. That's what it was about. So everybody needs to check that out. That album came out, I believe, in 1986. Introducing Jonathan Butler. Let's talk about working with Anita Baker for a moment. Oh, yeah. Amazing. She's just one of the greatest singers. I've learned so much from her about writing, songwriting, about production, about working with vocalists. Just you name it. I just learned from her. Just incredible. The songs that you wrote with her, did you sit down? Was that her sitting on the piano bench next to you and you guys writing together? I Apologize was a song that we won a Grammy. She won the Grammy Best R&B Vocal. Let me tell you how that happened. I was in the studio for her playing on another song. I was going to do a piano overdub on another song. And the engineer says, "Hey, man, Barry, can you just play a little bit on the piano so we can get a sound and then we can start rolling on the other tune?" And I'm like, "Sure." And I start playing that groove. I mean, it just popped in my head. Just started playing that groove. And she stopped everything. Said, "Barry, what is that? What is that?" I said, "It's whatever you want it to be." And she ran out next to me on the piano. I'm sitting there. She said, keep playing. She started singing this chorus. "I apologize." And just like that, she kept singing. She said, "Barry, I'm telling you, this could be really nice for my record. This could be it. If you can get this track finished." Literally, she was down to like her last track for the album. "If you can get this track finished, because I've got to finish other songs, I promise you this will get on the album." And I went home, wrote a track that night, finished it up, called up my buddy Gordon Chambers, who wrote the chorus, literally the verses and the bridge, and brought it back to her the next day, and she flipped out. And ended up going on her album just like that. And that's, I love that story. Yeah, that's fantastic. That's when you're excited. And I love your response. Yeah, it can be whatever you want it to be. That's the perfect answer.
I mean, she ran out of the control room into the studio. I'm like, oh my God, what did I do wrong? You know? She said, no, keep playing. And we figured out every section, right? Just like that. Within 5 minutes, we figured out, okay, so where would you go for the verse? And I played some changes. Yeah, okay. And then what do you think a bridge should be? And played some changes. Yeah, okay, great. Okay, Barry, put it all together, bring it back. So you got it. It was great, man. And literally, that's the song that won her a Grammy for that off the Rhythm of Love album. So I'm so excited, man. That's
Thanks
why
for
I love
sharing
what I
that
do.
story. Yeah,
sure, absolutely.
There's so many other people I'd want to talk about, but I want to just take a minute to talk about your new projects. You're working on a new album with Billy Ocean right now.
Yes, we hooked up again after all these years, and I'm so psyched. It's a first album of original material, and I think for him it's like 25 years or something like that. It's been a long time, and we've been doing a lot of the work in England, in a studio in Manchester. And it's just like the old days, man. It's like when we did When the Going Gets Tough and Color of Love and all those songs. Yeah. It's just magical. We get in the studio, and with Billy, it's just we look at each other. We just know what each other's thinking, you know. We just read each other like, yeah, I know, that's going to work. No, that's not going to work. And it's so special. Really special.
You know, there's something fascinating about what you just said about, you know, having a relationship that's built on trust and respect, that you can actually try anything and know what's going to work and what's not going to work, and not really trip on what's not working. It doesn't. It's just
that's really what it's about, and that to me is you nailed it on the head. That's exactly what it's about. It's really about trusting each other, and they know as a producer, I got their back. That, you know, no matter what, I'm going to take care of it, make sure it's right. And I know, and they know also as a producer, I'm not going to steer them in the wrong direction and take them musically someplace where I don't think they should go, or where they shouldn't be going. You know what I'm saying? I just want to make sure that musically, I'm always giving them what I think is their next hit. It's always, for me, it's about, what's the next record I would love to hear from Billy? What's the next record I would love to hear from Anita? That's how that's where I look at it. And sometimes, you know, and I love the fact that they'll tell me, you know what, Barry, I like that, or nah, that's not quite, you know, what I want to do. And it's just it's so easy. Like, okay, cool, let's do something else, or let's go a different direction.
Right. Yeah, that doesn't take the wind out of your sails. It just allows you to shift your direction. Right.
Exactly.
Well, also because you're there to make their record, not your record.
That's it. Yeah. And, you know, I came out of the 80s where it became, for a while, it was like the producer was star, you know what I mean?
Right.
It was that it was that whole thing where it was the producer was bigger than the artist. Right. And I never liked that. I always felt like, no, the producer's the guy in the background. Stay in the background, you know? Yeah. It's one thing if you're the artist and you're out there doing it. Okay, that's great. But as a producer, I was never I think that the fact I wasn't a great singer, but I could guide vocalists, I thought was a great thing for me, because I didn't make them sound like me. You know, you can hear a lot of producers, you can hear who are singers, you can hear them singing like the producer, you know? Right. I could name a couple of artists that immediately remind me, oh, that's the way the producer sings. And I never wanted that. I wanted to hear I wanted the artist to be the artist. You know what I mean? Sing in your voice. Don't copy what I'm doing. You know, I'll suggest, well, maybe the melody should go up here. Maybe, you know, maybe we need to bring it down at this point here and mellow it out, and then we get exciting in the bridge. You know what I mean? Those kind of things is what I like to say. Absolutely. And I like to bring out. But I'm not going to tell you how to sing it. Right. You know, some of the, especially the caliber of artists I'm working with, you don't have to tell them how to sing it.
Of course not. And so not being a great singer is not a liability to you.
Not at all. Not at all.
So I feel the same way.
But right. But the fact is, I hear melodies all day and night. So if one melody is not working, I'll come up with another melody in a second and say, hey, let's try it this way.
Absolutely. We have 4 minutes left in this show, so I just have a couple quick questions for you that I end every show with. What does making it mean to you, both personally and professionally?
Personally, it's just I've been fortunate to have been married to the love of my life for 30-something years now. God, 30. We're 35 years, 34 years. He's going to kill me.
Yeah, now you're in trouble.
I couldn't do this. I couldn't do this without her. I really couldn't. We have two beautiful children who are just the best. Actually, my daughter now is an attorney, and my son works for electronics media company, and they're just great kids. So the fact that the home life is just amazing makes it. That to me is making it. Having that all together.
Absolutely.
And then the music just comes out of that. Because, like I said, my first hit was written for my wife. That was the beauty of that first song, is that it was dedicated to her. It was written for her, and that was a song that changed my life. And so that to me was really about making it. And for me, musically, being able to do what I love to do, and working with amazing artists, working with new artists, and just enjoying being in the studio still after all these years. To me is the best, and I never get tired of it. Everybody asks me, "What's your favorite song?" And I always tell them, "It's the next one."
The next one.
It's the next one. It's the next song. What's your favorite? The next one.
Right. My final question, Barry, is something I ask all of my guests. At this point of your life, with everything that you know to be true, what would you tell your younger self?
That you're on the right track. Just keep doing what you're doing. Though you may have fears, you may think that, man, I can't get through this. This is tough. This is going to be a tough project, or this is going to be a tough day. It's going to be fine. You're going to be okay. And even the projects that don't go the way you think they should, you're going to learn from them, and you're going to get better. And you're just going to get, you're going to be fine. And, because when you're young, you have those insecurities. Am I good enough? Am I going to get hired again? Am I going to get called back for that session? Am I going to, you know what I mean? And that's the thing I always wondered about as a kid. And I was lucky enough to get calls for these opportunities, and then I worked my butt off to stay there. That's what really made the difference for me. It was like, being in the right place is one thing, but then you got to prove yourself. And I've done that on every session I've ever done, every project.
And it comes through in the music.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
What would you, I want to thank you for being on the show, Barry. And in our
pleasure.
last 30 seconds, what would you like to say to everybody?
Well, thank you again for listening to the music I've done over the years. And I'm so glad I hear people always say that, some of those songs are some of them, their favorites, and they've gotten married to those songs, or they've got 3 or 4 kids because of my songs. And it's always thrilling, when people find out that you're a songwriter and you wrote that. And I love that. That's to me, that's the best thing in the world. It makes it nothing can touch being a songwriter and a record producer.
On that note, thank you, everybody, for joining us. Barry, it's been a pleasure to spend the hour with you. I can't wait to collaborate with you again. And
absolutely, really Terry. My pleasure. Thank you so much.
We'll see everybody next week. Thanks for joining us.
Tune in again next week for another great episode of Making It with Terry Woolman.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Undeniably, Michael McDonald, and Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.